I know I'm a little late. How's it going, fellow warriors? I am the Console Warrior, Big Comic Console, and this Warriors review is about the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I remember when I first saw the teaser trailer in 2014. Is Link a girl now? While the trailer is definitely impressive, it wasn't enough to hook me in yet. It was until I saw the 2017 trailer that I decided that I really wanted this game. It feels like it shouldn't be the main reason to want a game, but I remember how beautiful and inspirational it made me feel. I just love when trailers do that. It's not even part of the actual game, it's just there to make you feel invested and get you to buy it. I was so glad to see that the song was added in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's soundtrack. Every time I pick a Zelda stage, that song is my go-to pick. That's just how good this trailer was. So March 3rd, 2017, the game was finally released, and I bought it 4 years later. It was originally going to be released in 2015 as an exclusive to the Wii U. However, they delayed the game twice so it could be a launch title on the Switch, which is probably for the best since the Wii U did horribly. And with the announcement of its sequel, I thought this was the perfect opportunity to get in this game and maximize my chances with the YouTube gods. Unfortunately, the person making this video was me. So here it is. Let's review Breath of the Wild and see how it holds up today. A blind review. The first time I heard about the Legend of Zelda franchise was from the 1998 Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64 and Super Smash Bros. Melee on the Nintendo GameCube. Link appeared in both of those games, but there's not a lot I can tell about him just by looking at him. However, from what information I gathered as a kid, I knew a lot of people either thought he was cool or had a huge crush on him, which I can only guess it must be for his amazing personality. My first main Zelda game, however, was Wind Waker on the GameCube, and I remember the first thing I had a problem with when I was a kid was that there was no jump button. You can tell I was a Mario kid. I also wasn't very good at the game because I couldn't beat the first dungeon. I've only played a few Zelda games, so I consider myself a more casual fan. Breath of the Wild is unique in the series for being the first open world game. In fact, this game actually redesigned Link and Zelda's main outfits, which is something I think all of us were not expecting Nintendo to do. And it has single-handedly inspired so many other games to exist due to the game's immense popularity. I've heard many times that if it's an open-world game with gliding in it, it is considered a Breath of the Wild clone. This game is a big deal, and because I haven't played it at the time, everyone wouldn't stop judging me about it. When I first started playing this game, I didn't have much experience with open-world games either. But I ended up playing other games like Genshin Impact, which is probably the biggest example of a Breath of the Wild clone, and the newest game, Sonic Frontiers, which is technically an open zone game. I have an awkward experience with this genre, as you can tell, technically playing many other open-worldish games while playing Breath of the Wild for the first time. I don't think I'm an expert, but I've definitely absorbed a lot of information for this genre. It took over 70 hours to beat this game, and my PC is not big enough to hold all this footage, so the sooner we finish this review, the better for my PC, so let's go. The first thing that happens in the game is a voice of a woman telling you to open your eyes. Link then wakes up and leaves the area he was sleeping in. I found this mysterious old man who proposed to Link that if he finishes his task, he will give him a glider to help him get down from this area. He is no ordinary man, but the King of Hyrule. I was actually spoiled by this before I started this game back when they first revealed Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, when a Twitch streamer blurted it out when seeing him in one of the stages they showed us. Luckily, it was at the beginning of the game, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But what did surprise me was that after finishing his request, he disappeared out of thin air. Apparently this was the king's spirit. He kept his identity a secret because Link has memory loss, and he didn't want to bombard him with information that he wasn't mentally prepared for. He explained that 100 years ago, the king's daughter, Princess Zelda, Link, and 4 chosen warriors from their respective tribes were tasked to take down Calamity Ganon. But he took control of the machines that their ancestors made and turned them against our heroes. He kidnapped his daughter, so it's my job to stop him and save the princess. Well, what else is new? Being a Mario fan, you think I get tired of this. After his explanation, he gives me the glider and disappears in thin air, and now I can explore the rest of the world. Here we go! Ah! So, being an open world game, this means that every place in the world is unlocked after you beat the tutorial area, not including gender discrimination. You can go anywhere you wanted despite your level or progress. If I wanted to, I can enter the final area right away. Is that a good idea? Depends on how brave, capable, or stupid you are, or if you know how to break the game. That is to say, obviously I don't need to go this very second. So the real question is, when should I finish the game? Now, as a reviewer, I think it'd be pretty stupid to finish this game in 23 minutes and 51 seconds. What kind of review would that be? No, I knew that I needed to create my own goal before I take on Calamity Ganon. According to the king, I needed to go to Impa, so that was the first thing I did.
I'm here! Hey everyone!
Oh. Since Link lost his memories, Impa said that there are pictures in the Sheikah Slate that might help. There are 12 pictures with different locations, and going to all of them may help Link recover his memories. Therefore, I decided that that will be my goal. Finding the memories weren't easy, but there are other clues that can help me locate them. First, there was a Sheikah tribe member named Pakago, who is a traveler and artist that explored Hyrule before. You'll most likely find him first in Kakariko Village, and he's usually seen at resting stops. He said I can ask him if I needed help finding places, so I showed him my pictures, and he'll tell me where they might be. Unfortunately, there's nothing that records this for you, so when I forgot what he said, then I had to go find him again just to remind me. That's if I could remember where he told me that specific picture's information. The map doesn't mark the locations for you, so you have to remember what he says unless you take a snapshot on your Switch or write it down yourself. But since I didn't think about doing that, finding all the memories was very confusing. Most of these memories are about Zelda and Link's travels together to prepare for Ganon. In my opinion, they aren't really necessary to complete, so you could technically skip them. It's mainly for adding more details to the story and for world building. You don't need to watch them in a specific order to understand them either. That's a good thing. Too much information and having to piece it all together would have been a pain. And even if you did need to understand the order of each memories, you can rewatch them in order anytime. My favorite one is about Zelda anointing Link as her knight. The other champions all question why he was chosen as the hero. Some seem like he was unworthy, and the fact that Link remembers this means that they were close enough for him to hear. Link already must have been in a lot of pressure as it is. Ultimately, these memories were about Zelda, and how she's handling Ganon. From what I understand, she feels pressured from her role and is having a tough time using her magic. It is especially hard for her that her teacher, who sadly happens to be her mother, passed away before she got a chance to learn. I can't help but feel bad for her, especially when others give her a tough time. I know that I said you can skip them, but I definitely recommend giving them a watch. You really get to care about her, and gives you more motivation to stop Calamity Ganon. So, funny thing, both the king and Impa mentioned that I had to find the 4 divine beasts. These ancient machines were the most important and were controlled by the 4 chosen tribe members that I mentioned earlier. Finding and recovering them will help me take on Ganon, making it easier for me. The reason why I'm mentioning this is that after finding 5 of the 12 pictures, I found one of the villages with a divine beast, and I realized that I needed to locate them all. Oh. They even tell you where these locations are on your quest list, so I didn't go in blindly. Each village has a story, and I need to find a way to convince them to help me. This will also unlock 4 more memories. So I basically just finished half of the progress that I've originally planned, only to find out that I need to finish another set of quests before heading to the end of the game. Clearly this is important to the story, so I added another task to my goal. The Rito are bird people known for their archery skills, and are my favorite of the 4 species for their pretty designs. Ignoring their
terrifying children!
Their elder tells me to look for Teba, one of the Rito warriors. He is the main character of this story.
Yeah?
Calm down, ladies. He is impulsive and is determined to take on Vomito alone. Dang, what did I do? But after I proved myself, he was convinced that I would be great help. We defeated the divine beast, but before I can get inside, Teba got injured and has to fall back. He's not my favorite of the 4 main characters, but I want to admit, if it wasn't for that injury, he would have been the only one of the main characters to come with me. Everyone else just makes me do the rest of the work. I just felt like bringing that up. Once I connected my Sheikah Slate to the divine beast, Revali, the Rito's champion from 100 years ago, spoke to me. Just like the king, the spirits of the 4 other champions stayed behind, but were trapped in the divine beasts. Revali is arrogant and hates that he had to support Link instead of being in the front line, but even though he doesn't admit it to Link, he realizes that maybe Link was the best one for the job after all. Question why Link was chosen the most. He's okay. Unlikable characters are usually the most interesting, but he's very simple. I wouldn't expect much from a Zelda side character, but he's definitely one of the weaker ones. The next one I went to was Azora Village. They are fish people, and I first saw them in a lake. They were looking for a Hylian like Link for help. Their designs can be very cute, which is not something I expect from fish people. Then I met Prince Adon, or Fish Sticks according to this community poll. Apparently he's been unintentionally scaring others because he expects anybody to join him without question. When I first met him, I thought he was going to be an obnoxious person who's really over his head, but he has a more genuine confidence than I thought. In fact, he's very popular with the ladies and children of his people. He's definitely a little weird, but I find him more interesting than Teba at least. Apparently he's the younger brother of the Zora's champion Mipha, and our main character for this story. Mipha was loved by her people, but because she died 100 years ago, the elders have resented Link ever since. The elder who taught her how to fight won't help me until we convince him otherwise, but once he found out that Link was supposed to marry her, he agreed to help. This is probably the most memorable of the stories, and Mipha is definitely my favorite champion. Mipha was just happy to help her fiancé and felt like it was enough for her to feel at peace. It must have been awkward for Link since he lost his memories though. The next area was the Gerudo, which are a group of Amazonian women who are told to find men to marry because their species can't make male Gerudos. That sounds terrible. They don't even allow men in their city, which sounds super counterintuitive. Now, I don't have a lot of experience in this, but being a woman sounds incredibly difficult. You're telling me that you need to find a mate who's a complete different species just so you can repopulate, and men aren't allowed in your kingdom? That sounds incredibly counterintuitive. Like, men are insecure, self-conscious idiots who are too concerned about what society thinks about them that they should appreciate the beauty that they have. And the last thing they're going to go looking for it is in the middle of the desert. So that means Link can't get in normally. So we sneak in by dressing up as a girl. I do want to say where you find that outfit feels lazy and unearned though. And well, I don't blame myself for thinking he was a girl before because he makes it work. Once you get inside, you meet the chief of the Gerudo, Riju. Despite her position, she's actually quite young due to her mother passing away. It sounds like a lot of pressure, but I can't say she doesn't look confident. Honestly, I can't really relate to her all that much. I think she has a diary you can read, which would probably help, but I don't know if I just didn't read it or just forgot. After she agrees to help Link, we head to the Divine Beast and then I defeat it, releasing the Gerudo champion Lady Urbosa. She's very confident and has a bit of a sly side. What I remember about her most is she had the most faith in Link, and is like a close friend to Zelda. She seemed like a great big sister that I would be happy to go to for advice. And lastly, I look for the Gorons. They are these, well, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what they are based off, but they are very strong, durable, and resistant to heat. They live on a volcano which is too hot for Hylians. I had a lot of trouble finding this place and I was convinced it was meant to be the last place for the player to look. But when I checked the order of the memories, it's the first that's listed for the champion. And you like to eat rocks? What? Eventually I found the chief, who is missing a young Goron that helps him deal with their divine beasts. His name is Yunobo, and he is a descendant of the Goron champion. Calm down, ladies. Out of the 4 main characters of each tribe, he is my favorite. He's actually a coward who can't defend for himself, but he's strong and happens to have his ancestor's special ability. I know that the strong yet cowardly stereotype isn't a new one, but something about being eager to help and being a bro, go-getter kind of guy makes him likable to me. And despite his timidness, he agreed to help Link. I did feel he was a little quick to help out despite being a total stranger to him. But if the Gerudos were able to trust him from helping them get their heirloom back, I bet a chill guy like Yunobo would after saving him out of nowhere. The Goron champion is named Rook. He is hardy, prideful, and seems to be great buddies with Link. I also think he's a leader when it comes to battle strategy, usually the first to command when action needs to be made. I honestly forgot most of these traits about him, so I didn't say much about him at first, but he's cool at least. But now that that's done, we finally have defeated all 4 of the Divine Beasts taking on Ganon. But before I did that, I had one more thing to do first. Find the Master Sword. Anybody who has played a Zelda game knows about this iconic weapon. Surprisingly, the sword isn't that important in this game. You could skip it if you wanted to, funny enough. It's located in the Lost Woods. I did hear about this place very early in my playthrough, but I forgot halfway through the game. I hope this won't be a big issue for me in the future. Thankfully, I found it easily. I believe it was until I helped the Zoro people that I first saw the Master Sword. After you collect it, you are rewarded with another memory. Next, let's talk about the gameplay. So the first thing the game throws at you is basically the tutorial. Before you can explore the rest of the world, you must do what the old man says so you can get his glider, because otherwise you can't leave the area or you'll die. I haven't tried it myself, so I don't know if you can, but considering how serious I am when it comes to the immersion in these games, I didn't bother trying. Despite being only a small part of the world, there's still a lot of things to do here. The way the game teaches you isn't shoved down your throat, it only gives you an explanation when you need one. So basically when I first find the sword, the game gives me a small explanation on how to use swords, and I like that approach. This area also tells you about the shrines, which are basically small temples that most Zelda games have, but instead of an ample amount of puzzles, traps, and a big boss at the end, It's just one puzzle. There are 4 shrines in this area, and they all have an ability that will be added to your Sheikah Slate. Your Sheikah Slate is a tablet that looks similar to the Switch on handheld. Even the game says that it looks familiar to you. To Link, it's just a device he vaguely remembers because of his memory loss. But to me, it's just a Nintendo Switch. That's a cool detail. It will be a huge asset to exploring this world. Not only will it have some tools like the bomb or the time stasis, but it's also your map, shrine raider, camera, etc. It even activates shrines and towers that let you teleport to them after you found them. Navigating through it is fine. I sometimes mistake pressing the pause menu instead, but that's only a minor inconvenience. I do like that I can mark locations while looking through the telescope. It makes finding places a lot easier. Has any other games done this? Since this is an open world game, you can go pretty much anywhere you want, including the final area at Ganon's, and trust me, it does not care about your feelings. Get ready to run away from a lot of things because Link is a fragile boy, unless you're me who just runs in mindlessly over and over again and to death. I could be very stubborn.
Why?
Luckily, there are ways to get stronger. This is what I expect most new players will decide to do first. One of the ways you can do this is to complete shrines, which will give you spirit orbs after completing them, and when you obtain 4 of them, you can pray to the goddess statues. In return, you can choose for more health or stamina. At first, I started collecting hearts so I can do better against enemies, but after I collected a few, I realized how important stamina was, because Link needs it for almost everything. Running, climbing, swimming, pushing and pulling, he even loses stamina for gliding. So my plan was to get another full wheel of stamina, and then afterwards I started a heart-only diet. Shrines will have many different types of puzzles, which I've enjoyed most of the time. Some are done quickly, but most of the time it doesn't feel like it's holding my hand. I generally felt smart when I did them, and when I didn't figure them out right away, it felt like it was my fault. Some shrines have combat trials. There are times where I felt like I wasn't strong enough and came back later, which is nice. If I don't feel like doing them right now, I could always just teleport back when I do. Some shrine tasks must be completed just by finding them, because they can be hiding somewhere in a sneaky place or within a riddle. Most riddles gave me a lot of trouble. My least favorite shrine is the one where you get stranded on an island. Basically, when you arrive, the challenge takes your clothes, weapons, and items. You need to use what you can find on the island until you complete the task. It took me 4 hours to complete this shrine, and I can only guess it was because I wasn't strong enough. However, I didn't leave because I can't teleport back unless I find the shrine first. This was also the first time I had to defeat one of these enemies there too, because I've been avoiding them. So that was a terrible experience. I'm certain if I was a lot stronger, then I would have been able to beat it without stressing out, but because I didn't want to stay all the way back again, my only option was to complete it. The loading screen can also give you advice if you're having trouble.
Oh my goodness, okay, I can't do this.
One time I noticed one of the tips they gave me was suspiciously for the situation I was in. When I died in the same spot many times, the game was telling me that I should think of a strategy first instead of rushing to death over and over again like an idiot. Even the game can tell that I'm stubborn. Of course, if you need to get stronger for a moment, you can increase your stats with food and potions. It can restore your health, but also increase your attack, speed, and defense, or resistance to temperature and elemental attacks. That's if you already have some made though. You can find ingredients by looking for them in the wild or in stores. Survival is a big part of this game, so it's all about being resourceful and creative, and there's tons of different ways you can do to help you. So it might have something for every type of player. Clothes can also boost stats. They can come in sets of 3 which will stack the effects. For example, the Sheikah Tribe's outfit. It will increase your stealth for sneaking past enemies and hunting animals, but usually these are very expensive. I didn't know how to make the big bucks until later in the game, but once you do, it's really easy. The outfits are really cool as well. These were the stuff that I just wanted to collect just to have them. You could even change the colors if you have the materials. And finally, the weapons. There are tons of different weapons that you can find, each with different uses best for certain situations. There are melee weapons like swords, lances, and greatswords. There are shields for defense, and lastly, there's the bow and arrows. One thing I wish I did more often is if you use the bow in the air, you will be put into slow motion to help aim. This is obviously really cool, but the downside is it will consume a lot of stamina. The biggest issues that weapons have though is they lack durability. If weapons are used too many times, they'll break, and they don't last long either. One time I was doing a shrine which is basically a game of hole-in-one, which requires the use of sledgehammers. Thankfully the shrine does provide you with them. They even have extra durability, which I was so happy to get because at the time, I had trouble finding these for a majority of the game. It might not seem like a big deal at first, but once you finish the requirements to complete the task for the spirit orb, shrines like these will give you a second puzzle for a treasure chest. Now, the last thing I want is something to ruin my precision. However, I wasted my last sledgehammer because of Joy-Con drift. Unfortunately, that means I lose the special sledgehammers and the game does not respawn chests and shrines, so I had to look for more in the open world. I found a few spots and grabbed as many as I can to finish the second puzzle, even saving it before I start it. So if I mess up, I can just load back to that file so I don't have to look for more sledgehammers again. all for a treasure that wasn't even worth getting. Another issue that the weapons have is there's not a lot of slots for holding them. There are ways to increase your slots for weapons, but it requires looking for these guys, the Koroks, who give you Korok seeds when you find where they are hiding. If you hand them over to this large Korok, he'll increase your inventory. He was the one who told me about the Lost Woods though, so I was only able to give him my Korok seeds when I coincidentally found him again pretty much halfway through the game. They are very easy to find, that most of the time it feels like they are under your breath. I hate seeing them, because when I get excited when I found something that I thought was special, I ended up finding these guys instead.
Oh, that's it? Man, I was actually excited.
At least I don't need to worry about not having enough Korok seeds.
Bye-bye.
Despite this, it was a pain when my weapon broke or when I don't have enough space. And there are many different types of weapons for specific purposes. The only way that I've found how I can store them is by buying a house, but you can only store a few, so be prepared to sacrifice some weapons by throwing them away for better ones regardless. I heard from many others that the weapon system was the worst part of the game, and I have to agree. It didn't help my opinion that I was playing Genshin Impact because the weapons don't break in that game. Still, this is one of the few issues that this game has, which is really saying something. I mean, I've rarely given negative criticism to this game, and any other negatives I had were only nitpicks or not important enough for me to mention. The music is pretty good. It's not something I would listen to in my own time, but it does its job. When the music wants you to be scared, you feel scared. When it wants you to feel safe, then you know it's safe. And when the story wants you to feel inspired, odd, or impactful, it makes you feel as such. It's not just the music that does it, the overall atmosphere does a good job setting the tone too. For example, in certain areas I found this black goop and immediately I did not want to find out what it does, so I didn't touch it once. I think one time I touched the edge of it, but it did nothing. I ran off as soon as possible though. Maybe I needed to be in it longer or something, but the fact that I didn't want to stay in there just shows how affected the game made me feel. And of course, the game looks stunning. This is one of the aspects you should look forward to in an open world game. The first thing that you see once you leave the room Link has been sleeping in is a preview of the world you are about to explore. They want you to know how much effort they put into how this game looks, and they have the right to. I think the only open world game that I haven't seen doing this is maybe Pokemon Scarlet. I don't remember them doing that, and if they did, then I forgot. The voice acting is also great too. Not Pokemon Scarlet, I mean Breath of the Wild. It doesn't have a lot of it, but it has where it matters. I wouldn't say it's award-winning or anything, but they convey how they feel good enough for a big-time Nintendo game. The designs for this game are amazing. Just looking at Revali makes me want to punch him, and I think that's what they wanted. These are probably my favorite designs for Zelda and Link too, especially Zelda. Her designs don't always hit for me, but this one looks really nice. The enemies most of the time are very creepy, so I don't feel bad for killing them. And unlike Final Fantasy VII, they don't feel random. I wouldn't want to be around a moblin, that's for sure. I mentioned I stayed away from these guys, the Hinox. If I see something that big, then I keep my distance. Plus, they're just ugly.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to fight you, but if you want to come back later, or if I can come back later. Actually, this is your place.
They do give out materials, but I don't think I figured out what they are used for, which is most likely from not collecting a lot. Like most people, the Guardians are the ones I immediately fear when I see them, or just from hearing their theme. But I took down a lot more of those than the Hinox. Each location were distinct from each other and are very memorable. I feel like someone can describe one of the environments and I would be able to show you where it is on the map. Well, there is still quite a few places that I haven't visited yet, so not every place. But what I do know for sure is, this game is worth getting. So yeah, with that said, I barely have any problems with this game. I'm just amazed how much I love it. In fact, I plan on 100% completing it after this review. And this game took a while to beat. I don't plan on completing this game just because it's short and easy, nor do I feel like I can't because it's tedious and slow. From what I've said in my past videos, you know that means I love this game. To top it all off, I think it's my favorite in the Zelda franchise. Not because of the jump button, obviously. And regardless of what you're interested in, I guarantee you will enjoy it too. After I finished this game, I watched some friends play it, and they showed me tons of things I haven't done yet. I guarantee that unless you like more fast-paced games, this game is definitely for you. And even if this isn't your cup of tea, I recommend trying it anyways. I wish I played it sooner, and now I see why so many people judge me for not playing it yet. Anyways, thank you so much for getting this far in this video. I know it took a while, but there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to get through. But with that said, I'm the Console Warrior, and I hope to see you guys next time. Ciao! Oh, it just hurts me. Oh, that was it.